What's up, guys? Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. Stevesmi here, and Rick is in the house.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, Steve? How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, man. Any day above ground is a good day, my friend. Especially, during football season. Everything's always happening. Football season, things are always changing. So, all right, guys, we have some awesome topics. Guys, we're going to talk about steroids. We're going to talk about working out. We're going to talk about all kinds of shit on this podcast, guys. 6 great topics. Let's start with the first one. Crazy back pumps on orals. So, first off, this is a topic that comes up a lot. A lot of guys mistake pumps with kidney problems. They're like, oh, my kidneys hurt. Or they'll be like, oh, I got cramps. Guys, pumps are part of using oral steroids. And a lot of oral steroids, I know I've got them on Dianabol. I've got them on Anavar. I've got them even on T-Bol, all right? What they are basically, all the nutrients and blood flows into your muscles when you're working out or when you're doing any type of physical activity. And they cause this really tight pump where it feels like your muscle's about to explode. And I know when I was, I can tell you my experience, and Rick, you can tell you yours, but I remember trying to run on D-Bol, and I made it about a mile before my calf was about 5 times normal size. No joke. It was about to explode out of my leg. I ran on Anavar, and about a mile into it, my back pumps were so bad, I had to just stop and lay down during the run. I've had workouts in the gym on Tren where my muscles were so fucking full of blood and full of nutrients from pumps that my muscles felt like they were going to just pop out of it. It's not a bad feeling, but at some point it gets counterproductive. Okay. So, Rick, I'll let you chime in. Can you tell us, have you ever had pumps, and what kind of tricks do you have up your sleeve to help with these?
Yeah, pumps on the muscles that you don't want to get pumps in from steroids are pretty common. When I started doing Thai boxing, I discovered that my Tren and D-Bol cycle was giving me terrible shin splints. That's that pain right along your tibia. And it was tough to jump rope, to do anything. At that time, this is many, many years ago, had to make some really serious decision about dosages, about the products I could and couldn't take. It's one of the times where I ended up dropping some of the harsher stuff, some of the orals. I started messing more with testosterone and masteron, and some of the stuff that I felt wasn't as bad at giving you pumps all over your body. So what did I do, man? Just a lot of stretching, a lot of massaging. You could usually get in there yourself and massage it out. Hydration, electrolytes, and just a lot of stretching and just massaging. Stretching and massaging was probably the best thing that I found. Painful pumps from the steroids, and also just lowered my dosages all over. I mean, if all you're doing is just weight training, a little bit of warm up, a little bit of cardio warm up, and just weight training, some you might never notice it. But if you're doing, something more demanding, CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, Thai boxing, really running and going hard, running miles, you're going to notice it. You're going to notice something not right when you push your body for a long time. You're going to notice it. So it's something to be mindful of.
Yeah, taurine is a really, really good one. If you're talking about electrolytes, taurine is great for pumps, and it will counteract the pumps quite heavily. And it's actually one of the ingredients in Entugard, actually. One of 44 ingredients in Entugard, and Entugard has plenty of taurine to help with that.
Back in the day before I released Entugard, when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of coconut water and bananas, potassium and stuff. All that helped. But yeah, definitely the taurine works great. It really does help.
Yeah, guys, and it boils down to pumps aren't bad. They're not a bad thing. They can be a beautiful thing. I love pumps. When I'm doing drop sets, when I'm doing high reps, feeling that pump's fantastic. You leave the gym, your muscles are bulging out, everything. I love it. I love it on, bicep day, on calf day, and a lot of those isolation lifts that you do. But at some point, yeah, they're counterproductive.
Your lower back muscles. Yeah, I mean, the ones on your lower back, the ones right along your shin that you get sometimes, I mean, those tend to be pretty painful.
Yeah. So if it gets to a point where it's counterproductive, guys, just do those things we mentioned. Lower the dose, even stop the oral entirely. Switch to something else. I can tell you EQ, Primo, those more mild steroids, they're not pump producers like the orals are. And then you guys, stack up on the N2 guard, the taurine, the electrolytes, and drink some more water, and take some potassium, bananas, fruit. Those are excellent for it. So those are things you can do, guys. But there's absolutely no reason for you to suffer if you're getting pumps and they're ruining any type of your workout. There are things that you can do. So don't just sit there and be like, oh, I'm just going to accept the pumps. That's just part of it. No. We work out, for a reason. We don't work out to make ourselves, a disaster and make ourselves painful all the time. So there's absolutely no reason. And be smart. If you're a runner, don't take D-Bol and go running. I mean, don't take T-Bol, don't take Anavar and go running. That makes absolutely no sense. All right, guys. So next topic is also about steroids: Tren, Ace, Hex, and E. So let me kind of give you guys the facts about these esters. I've used all three. Hex, which is about a 14-day half-life. The E is listed as about 8 to 10 days, and the ACE is about 2 or 3 days. So really right off the bat, when you're running ACE, you want to dose it every other day. When you're running E, you want to dose it, twice a week or maybe every 5-6 days. And if you're running a Hex, you can get away with dosing it once a week or even once every 11 or 12 days. And that should be fine. But is there really a difference between the three? I've used all three, guys. At the end of the day, Tren is a fucking potent steroid. And all things being equal, am I more advanced today from using Hex on a particular cycle versus using E or using ACE? No. At the end of the day, Tren is Tren, and it's extremely potent steroid. Now, maybe the guys back in the 80s and early 90s that used the farm grade Parabolin from France say, wow, that was the best shit ever. But now you're comparing farmer grade gear to underground gear. So maybe that's the distinction that some of the old guys get. Plus, they were younger at the time. That was 20, 30 years ago. And they're probably in their 50s or 60s today. And back then they were in their 20s and 30s. So you got to factor all that in. So, but, I'm not really sure. Rick, do you think that there's a difference between the three?
No. I mean, I think the acetate, I felt it made me a little bit smellier. That's one of my side effects with Tren. But besides that, no, not much. I mean, just to throw something else in, when you have a short ester like acetate, it comprises a smaller part of the total weight of your dosage. So, for example, if you have 100 mgs of Trenbolone acetate, you got about 83 milligrams of Trenbolone in there. And the other 17 mgs are going to be the acetate ester that the hormone, carries around with it while it's in the carrier. And your body has to first cleave off that ester before your body can utilize the Tren. Now, when you have something like 100 milligrams of Trenbolone enanthate, that's going to be about 70 milligrams of Tren because that's a longer ester, so it comprises a higher percentage of the total weight. So yeah, I mean, all of your injectable hormones have an ester chain. The shorter ester, you're getting a little bit more steroid in there for the total weight. The longer the ester, especially if you go something with like decanoate and undecanoate stuff, I mean, maybe as much as 40% of the weight could be all ester. And the ester doesn't grow muscle. The ester is cleaved off, and then your body, I think, utilizes it like a fat. And then it's just with the hormone that's left is the only thing that builds muscle. So I guess the only difference is you get a little bit more steroid from the shorter ester than you do from the longer one. But and just injection frequency. Obviously, the acetate, you have to inject every 3 days, EOD every day maybe. In that, you can do it once a week and be fine.
All right, guys, next topic is Sustanon. Let's talk about Sustanon 250. And this is one that we've, not talked about on this podcast very much. But Sustanon is actually a blend of 4 different testosterone esters while we're on that subject. 30 milligrams of propionate, 60 milligrams of phenylpropionate, 60 milligrams of isocaprioate, and 100 milligrams of decanate. And so it's mostly made up of long esters. The iso is usually a once a week injection. The decanate is usually a once every 2-week injection. The phenylpropionate is usually like once every 4-day injection, and the propionate is usually every other day or every day. So very little short esters. It's actually the preferred testosterone replacement testosterone in Britain. And then its cousin, which is Omnidrin, which is the exact same ester blend. It used to not be, but now it is, if you do the research on it. In Eastern Europe, they call it Omnidrin, and that's their TRT of choice. So in the United States, we don't use Omnidrin or Sustanon very often for TRT. In fact, doctors tend to prescribe mostly cypionate and mostly enanthate. So we don't use that. My experience, Sustanon was the first injectable I ever used. I can tell you, I loved it because it was farmer grade. It was Organon from Pakistan. That was the best shit I've ever used in terms of testosterone. And I got a lot of respect for it. And the thing is, the problem with Sustanon that I hate is the post-injection pain. It does come a little pain. Cypionate and enanthate do not. So that is one of the negatives of Sustanon. So Rick, I'll let you jump in here. You have a lot of experience with Sustanon. Can you tell them what you think about it?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to use Sustanon amps when they were legit human grade, and you could get them from Pharmacia. When it comes to Sustanon, I personally find it to be more expensive than just straight testosterone. It's way more expensive, and I'm not sure the benefits are all there. I couldn't really even tell you what the benefit is from Sustanon over just regular enanthate or even just prop. You'll have to inject the prop more often, but even when you take Sustanon to really take full advantage of it, you'd want to inject it every 3 days so that you're taking advantage of the shorter ester anyway. Is it a good testosterone preparation? Yeah, it's as good as any. I just find it to be more expensive than just a straight ester. And I don't really see the benefit, to be quite honest with you, for paying more and for having the 4 esters in there. I just find it unnecessary. I don't see why you would need 4 esters. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, I used it when it was around. Great, human grade, loved it. Nowadays, it all being the same, it all being underground stuff now anyway. Why pay the extra money to have 4 esters of testosterone in one bottle when you could just, I'm sure, save some money and only have 1 straight ester?
Yeah, really, the reason they came up with it was the idea behind it was you have 4 different esters. You have a short ester, an intermediate ester, and 2 long esters. So you basically inject a large amount infrequently. So the way they do it in Britain with TRT is guys will inject Sustanon, like 250 milligrams of Sustanon, which is 1 milliliter, every 2 weeks. So that comes out 125 milligrams a week. And you inject it, and that short ester, you start feeling it within a few days. Then the next ester kind of takes over, the next ester takes over, and so on. So kind of each ester picks up after each other. So you can inject it once every 2 weeks. But if you're running like an 8-week, 10-week, 12-week cycle, there's no point in doing that, because if you're injecting every 2 weeks, you're basically injecting it 6 times. So like Rick said, it's kind of silly. So in that situation, you'd want to run it, like Rick said, every 3 or 4 days, inject it twice a week, so you get it built up in your system quicker that way. So really, Sustanon, with the post-injection pain and stuff, unless you're planning on running like cruising long term, and you for some reason you like Sustanon, that would be the one reason to use it, because you just pin the thing once every 2 weeks and be done. You'd be good to go. Pin 1 milliliter once every 2 weeks, twice a month. You're good to go for the year. So that would make sense. But if you're running a cycle, like Rick said, there's no point. Might as well just run E or SIP, you know, and those are cheaper and they don't give you post-injection pain. So those, you know, that sums it up, guys. But Sustanon is nothing special. And a lot of underground labs now are coming out with other ester blends for testosterone. I've seen all kinds of different blends. And look, at the end of the day, test is test. So it's not going to mean shit. As long as it's good quality gear, that's the number one thing you should look for, guys. Good quality. Whether if it's Sustanon, E, SIP, propionate, whatever. Got to go for the good quality, and that will make the difference.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. You know, this is a podcast for steroid users. And look, for TRT, yeah, it does have its merits. 4 esters for TRT does have its merits. A guy can go into the doctor's office, get a shot in the morning. Probably that same night, he'll start to feel a little tingle. Next day or so, he'll feel more. And yeah, you know, even if you have a long ester or a short ester, they usually peak in a very short window span. So if you gave a guy 250 milligrams of, let's say, the cannabate ester, which is the longer one, it would still peak in the middle in a little 3 to 4 day span. So when you add the other esters, you have 4 peaks that are coming in one after the other. And if all you're doing is 1 or 2 amps of Sustanon per month, yeah, I mean, it helps, it works, that's what you need. But if you're doing a cycle and you're doing, you know, 500 mg, you're doing 2 amps a week of Sust, man, just save some money and do, you know, 500 milligrams a week of just anatinate, or just get propionate and do prop every other day. You know, that saves some money that way, and that's it. You know, just for the regular steroid user, no sense in having 4 esters.
All right, guys. So next topic is acne on steroids. We got someone asking about this every day on the forum. It's horrible. Acne can ruin people's lives. I know people, they're scared to even have a social life because of their acne, both male and females. It sucks, and I feel bad for people. I'm not someone who's prone to acne, so but I can remember in high school getting a zit. You wake up in the morning, you know, and you're meeting your girlfriend at school that morning, you got a fucking zit on your lip or something. It sucks, you know? It's like, holy shit, that's like the biggest stress when you're a teenager. So I can't imagine dealing with acne as an adult. Rick, what do you think is a good strategy for dealing with acne on steroids? Why do people get acne on steroids, and what's a strategy for attacking it?
Well, all kinds of different things. You know, your hormone balances change how much oil your skin produces, and also the makeup of what's coming out of your pores changes some too. It's, you know, it's real easy to have pores become infected and inflamed and have real bad acne. What I found for steroid acne helps me is a tanning bed or just regular sun a couple times a week, 15, 20 minutes. The pool, funny enough, I think just being dipped in chlorine, it somehow helps. And sometimes when I get like really kind of bad acne, that's a little bit kind of cysty a little bit, it doesn't want to run its course and go away. 10 days of antibiotics tends to dry up my skin pretty good too. Not every cycle has given me acne. I've noticed it has a lot to do also with my diet. When I'm eating real clean, when I'm drinking my liquid chlorophyll, when I'm drinking enough liquids, it seems that my skin behaves a lot better on the steroids than when I'm not really doing those things. So diet and what you put in your body is also really important. But yeah, man, antibiotics help if it's really kind of cysty and it's kind of under the skin a little bit. Antibiotics will dry most of that stuff up, and just nice tanning bed, sun, and the pool. I don't know if the pool is a combination of the sun and the chlorine, but I've been able to do tanning bed and just do laps in the pool and my gym. I feel like it helps my skin a lot. Washing your skin and keeping it clean is fine, is great. But if you overdo it on the soaps and the skin treatments and all that, you might end up having a worse situation than you started off with. So it's key. It's good to keep your skin clean and wash it with soap and whatnot, and maybe a little loofah once in a while. But don't overdo that, because you'll end up messing your skin up too that way.
Yeah, I got a problem with ingrown hairs. And for me, what helps, which is a type of skin issue, and I got issues with that, but what helps with ocean swimming in the salt water really seems to dry things out and really make it a lot easier on myself, because I get those ingrown hairs and then they get infected, and it becomes a big hassle. It's pretty much just like having acne on my skin. So that seems to work for me. I mean, every person I know has acne. They have some type of strategy to dealing with. So I feel for you guys, but you guys have to experiment with different strategies, whether it be our suggestions or trying something else. There are ways to kind of fight it, but at the end of the day, you use steroids, the acne is prone to blow up, especially steroids that seem to affect estrogen and that are androgenic. So try to stick to the more mild steroids. And then also when you come off steroids, again, your hormones kind of go fluctuate. So you want to make sure you have a good PCT after cycle. So you want to make sure you're running your N2 generate. The N2 generate will help balance your hormones after cycle so you don't just crash. You start taking these SERMs, and the SERMs actually cause your hormones to roller coaster as well. We had a lot of people complain when they run Clomid or Nolvadex during PCT. That's where their acne blows up. And I tell them all the time, you guys should never overdose on your SERMs, because that can screw you up. Also, overdosing on your AI, your aromatase or your ADEX, your aromatase inhibitors, that can flare up your acne as well, or if you're not running enough of them. So you want to make sure everything's balanced as much as you can and don't crash when you come off cycle. And that will help tremendously prevent those hormonal fluctuations, which seem to trigger the acne. And hopefully you grow out of it. Rick and I were talking about it on the pre-show, but it seems like on the forums, 90% of guys who have acne issues are younger, like 20, 25, even 30. And then once you get older, you seem to grow out of it. So hopefully you grow out of it.
Yeah, I think the acne also becomes a barrier, a filter of waste for some guys. There's some guys who just can't handle the steroids. It makes their acne blare up, and then they'll end up going away and never using again because they couldn't manage their acne on steroids. And they're guys that use a ton of stuff and never have skin issues. Just like there are guys who use steroids and never lose their hair, and then there are guys who use a little bit and shed hair. It becomes a thing. It becomes a filter. Some people, you'll find a lot of guys in their 30s, 40s that are still using steroids from when they were young. Those are the guys who could usually handle the side effects the most. They didn't get turned off to the lifestyle because the side effects were unmanageable.
All right, guys. So our next topic is clen. We talk a lot about clen. Over the years, it was clenbuterol was popularized by celebrities. Britney Spears, for example. She talked about using it. Some other celebrities as well, singers and actresses and stuff. Is clenbuterol really something you want to have in your arsenal to help you lose fat? I've used it twice before, guys. Let me just tell you my experience with it. I ran 40 micrograms and then I hiked it by 20 micrograms after like every 2-3 days. So I got to about 120 micrograms. And I'll tell you the side effects. I was getting shaky hands during the day, shaky hands. I was getting heartburn. I never get heartburn. I was getting heartburn on it. I was feeling like if I tried to do cardio, my endurance was shot. So, I really think it seemed like also my blood pressure was up. It seems like it's just a nasty, nasty drug. And I used it twice. And honestly, it really didn't do anything positive for me. I didn't notice fat loss. I didn't notice shit on it. And I threw it away. And then the second time I used it, same thing. And then I ended up throwing it away. I said, I'm never touching this shit again. So that's been my experience with it, guys. I think most guys would agree with that. There are some guys who react well to it, but it's a pretty shitty steroid. I'm sorry, it's not a steroid. It's actually a drug, but it's a pretty shitty ass drug. What's your experience with it, Rick?
I've used clen a couple of times. and albuterol. I don't think it made me get that much leaner. I think my diet is what helped me get leaner. It did give me a pick me up, and it maybe helped me curb my appetite a little bit. That's about it. I don't think it's worth it. And look, I tell people they don't need stimulants and you shouldn't use stimulants to lose weight. At their best, they're just giving you a little bit of energy and curbing your appetite. Two things which you can manage with maybe a little bit of caffeine or a lot of bit of caffeine. And if you take up the lifestyle of intermittent fasting and time restricted eating, then you won't feel hungry anymore. You're able to diet. And look, I sell stimulant based fat burners and through my brand, through Need to Build Muscle. Although I sell them because people want them, I don't really use them much myself. Once in a while, I use them as a little pick me up here and there. But I just think a little bit of caffeine or a lot of it of caffeine will keep you up, will keep you energetic, even as you're dieting down and really cutting back on those calories. When it comes to curbing your appetite, I think the absolute very best thing for appetite suppression is to take up the lifestyle of time restricted eating, intermittent fasting, kill the hunger. No, don't be hungry every 3 hours, and that's it. And you could do that naturally without really stacking on stuff like clen and albuterol, which I think clen is probably going to, if you abuse it long enough, it'll enlarge your heart when maybe testosterone wouldn't. I think if you use clenbuterol long enough, on most folks, it might just enlarge your heart, and maybe you could have done better dieting and been more strict with your eating and done a little bit of testosterone, gotten, yes, just as lean and not put other parts of your health at risk. So I personally don't think, I think it's an outdated drug. I don't think it's worth it. And I just don't see a place for it. I don't see a place for it in bodybuilding today, really, to be honest with you.
I got the exact same side effects too on albuterol, because I use albuterol as well. And it just seemed like they both kind of mirror each other, which they do. They're both originally like asthma medication. They've never been FDA approved, though, in the United States for that purpose, just in Europe. Keep that in mind. But it seems to not be something a lot of people use. What I like for fat burning, if you want my honest opinion, is stacking insulin and cardarine. Those two, what I like about those two, they're not stimulants. They're not going to fuck with your hormones. And they're very, very safe. There's virtually no side effects. And those are fantastic. You can use the cardarine once a day and the insulin before your meals. And that will kind of block the fat from being stored using that insulin, because it has a lot of ingredients, including bergerin, which is a very, very, not known supplement. And more people should know about it as well. All these supplements that are in insulin all help block fat, all help raise insulin sensitivity, so you're not storing fat. And intermittent fasting does that as well. Intermittent fasting is a beautiful thing. If you have appetite issues, and a lot of people do, you feel like, you wake up in the morning, you got to eat something. You're hungry, you're starving. If you just fast, just drink a lot of water, just fast for the day, you won't get that nonstop, I got to eat. But once you wake up and eat a meal right off the bat, you're going to want to eat every 2 hours. But if you just fast and just get used to doing that, make that a habit, you won't even get hungry till later in the day. And then you can kind of eat in a window. And it's not that you're eating in a window and restricting calories that makes intermittent fasting work. It's that lack of insulin that's being spiked. Because you wake up in the morning, you eat, you spike your insulin. 2 hours later, you eat again, you spike your insulin. How are you going to burn fat that way? You're not. And you just keep eating. So that's why intermittent fasting works, guys. It's great for your hormonal levels when it comes to insulin and glucagon.
And look, a lot of guys like those stimulants. Girls too love those stimulants for fat loss. I sell them. I make up two very strong, really good formulas for fat loss. And I make sure that the formulas aren't just stimulants with appetite suppressants, but they actually have other things in there to help you lose fat and be more effective. But if you want something that's going to be stimmy and get you up and kill appetite, just use either of my two products, either N2Burn or Lipofit. Both of those will work. They're both strong stimulants and suppress appetite. And they also have other things in there to help you lose fat. Now, if you want to go the non-stim route from my store, right? If you want to go non-stim, Entuslin, like Steve mentioned, T3 PCT, keep your thyroid working up to speed, and also your Hemflame ES for spot reduction. Those three are really good, and you won't be taking any stims. The your Hemflame will give you a tiny bit of a buzz. You'll know you rub a stimulant on your skin, but it's not like a pre-workout or a regular fat burner. It's very, very mild. But those three, man, those three are really good non-stim. And then, yeah, you could stack something like Cardarine on top of that if you get good quality Cardarine and good diet plan. And, man, you're going to be looking really tight, really shredded really soon.
Yeah, I use those three. Flame, what I like to do with Flame, I spray it on my stomach. We all want to show our abs, right? I spray that shit on my stomach, then I go do my cardio. I let it dry, then I go do my cardio. And yeah, you can feel the burn on your stomach. It's fantastic. So really, really good suggestion there, Rick. Our last topic is, should I still lift even if I have a cold or flu? Should I stay on cycle? We get this question a lot too on the forums because guys will be in the middle of the cycle. You know, they got this workout program all planned out. And then halfway through, they get hit with the flu. They get hit with a cold. They get hit with a sinus infection. So what are some, what do you do in this situation? So, Rick, let me get you in here on this one. This is one we could talk a whole show on, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. What have you done in the past when this has come up?
Okay, if it's just a cold or a flu, just don't take any orals. You want your liver nice and healthy. So maybe you can take some cold medications, right? Also, don't inject anymore. Every so often when you inject, you'll feel a little bit of solvent kind of that you're breathing out. That's usually when you inject testosterone, DECA, whatever. Every once in a while, you'll feel like you're breathing out a little bit of solvent. That's a little droplet of steroids that got into a capillary and just made its way up to your lungs. If it was Trenbolone, you get trend cough. And I just couldn't imagine trend cough being pleasant at all when you have already a respiratory infection or something there that's bothering you. So no more injections, no more orals until you're not sick anymore, and then you could jump right back on your cycle. If you have something different like an injury like elbow, shoulder, knee, something along those lines, I guess you can just drop dosages a little bit if you're not going to be able to be in the gym as much. It should, if anything, it might help a little bit, and then just cycle off if your injury is going to keep you out of the gym for a while. But so if you're sick, cold, anything like that, just pause everything, and then pick up where you left off. It should only last a week, 10 days, right? If you have something longer, an injury that you know is going to keep you out of the gym for a while, just cycle down, PCT off, blood tests, and go. It's the best way to do it, in my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
I like to, when I'm running steroids, I like to just be all in. I like to be 100%, not have any type of physical ailment bothering me or whatever. So when something hits in the middle of a cycle, that really, really sucks. Sometimes, the best thing to do is just to stop, because you're going to get your body back in the swing of things. Now, let's say you have the flu or a cold or something, a virus. Look at Sam Darnold, New York Jets, franchise quarterback making millions of dollars. You know what they did to him? They told him, you got to stay home, buddy. You're not even allowed in the facility for 2 weeks. We don't want our other players getting mono. And mono's not even spread through the air. Mono's spread through liquids, through saliva. And they still told him to stay home. So if they're telling him as $1 million quarterback to stay home, what do you think you should do if you get a cold or a flu, which is transferable and contagious by air? You should definitely, not be spreading that shit at your gym either. So, that really helps. But also you got to think about it this way. You're hurting yourself, because when you have a viral infection, you go to the gym, you're going to be exposed to more viruses and more bacteria. And that's going to put a tremendous strain on your immune system. And you could end up, basically, that little viral infection could end up turning into a bacterial infection, a much more major chest sinus infection, your sinuses or your chest infection. So you want to be smart, guys. What I do when I'm sick is I like to just let my body rest, okay? just like any animal in nature, when they get sick, they get injured, they rest. I like to fast because when you fast, you don't you all that energy your body uses to digest food now it can use it to destroy whatever the ailment is, whether it's a physical injury or a cold flu. So that's what I do when I 2 weeks ago this happened to me. I started getting a little cold. My right here, my started getting a little inflammation in my neck area. So my I started getting that like scratchy throat, so I could feel a cold coming on. So you know what I did? I stopped going to the gym. I stopped eating. I just drank water. I did a water fast. I said, I'm going to do a water fast until this is gone. 3 days later, it was gone, and I haven't been sick since. So just letting your body rest is a tremendous thing to do, guys. And yes, steroids, when you use steroids and you're sick or you have an injury, they do increase inflammation. So if you're especially using a more harsh steroid, like tren or a lot of testosterone or anadrol, very, very harsh steroids, they cause so much inflammation in the body that it actually will prevent your body from recovering as fast. So it can delay recovery. So you want to keep that in mind. But if you're running like Primo or EQ or a low dose of testosterone, something light like that, T-Bowl, you can probably stay on and do a fast and eliminate, the cold or flu. And then you can just ramp up your dosage back again. So you don't have to stop your cycle in that particular situation. So it really depends on what you're running and what exactly is going on with you. If you've got like elbow and knee issues and you got joint issues, you get some type of tendonitis in your joints, you don't want to be running Winstrol or Masteron, things like that dry you out, because that's just going to strain your joints more. So it just depends on the situation, guys. You really got to be smart. And remember, it's not the end of the world if you have to take time off from the gym or have to stop your cycle or reduce the steroids you're taking or something. Your muscles aren't going to disappear. Sometimes you have to take a step back to move 2 steps forward. It's not the end of the world. So don't be afraid. It's not weak it doesn't make you a man, doesn't make you strong to have the flu and be coughing up yellow shit and then go to the gym and still work out. It doesn't make you a man. It makes you stupid. So that's my position on it. Anything else to add to Rick?
Yeah, man, I agree. Too many folks out there worried about, not touching germs and, hand sanitizers and not touching germs. Well, how about you worry about not putting your germs on the stuff other people are going to touch? If you're sick, if you're fighting something, stay the hell home. Cover your mouth when you cough. You just really respect other folks. I think this is disrespectful. I think it's just not being a good citizen to be sick and you're spreading it, and you're still out there, touching equipment and snotting around. It's just not the right thing to do. So totally agree. Stay the hell home and don't get other people sick.
Yeah, one other tip, guys, colloidal silver works fantastic for me. And it's something that you can buy from a health food store. And that is something that I will take during a sickness. And that will help boost my immune system. It's a very, very powerful mineral. And that seems to help. I mean, it seems to be like a magic potion for me. And I always take it if I'm going on a trip in an airplane or a movie theater or something where I'm going to be around a lot of sick people. That's a good option to take too. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you listening to this show, Evolutionary.org podcast. Send in your questions, guys. Hit me up on the forum, Stevesmi. And we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, Rick.
Hey, have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys. Good night.